This list of straits is an appendix to the article strait. 4. Strait of C.S. 4. B. See the first letter of the word which follows the article. A. Agate Pass, Puget Sound. Agatu Strait, Aleutians. Ikashi Strait, Japan. Alas Strait, between Lombok and Sumbawa in Indonesia. Alor Strait, Lesser Sunda Islands in Indonesia. Amchitka Pass, Aleutians. Anegada Passage, between the Virgin Islands and Anguilla. Anguilla Channel, between Anguilla and St. Martin. Arthur Kiel, between Staten Island and New Jersey. Augustus Strait, A.K. A. Dampier Strait, Indonesia. B. Bab el-Mandeb, connects Red Sea to Gulf of Aden, Arabian Sea. Bab Iskandar, between Yemen on the Arabian Peninsula and Djibouti in Africa. Balabac Strait, between Palawan, Philippines and Borneo. Bali Strait, between the Indonesian islands of Java and Bali. Strait of Baltirisk, between Vistula Bay and Gdansk Bay. Bangka Strait, between Sumatra and Bangka Island. Also, Banks Strait, between Cape Barren Island, Clark Island and Tasmania. Bashi Channel, between Mavudes, also called Yami Island, Philippines and Orchid Island. Taiwan. Bass Strait, between mainland Australia and Tasmania. Beagle Channel, Tierra del Fuego. Strait of Belle Isle, between Newfoundland and mainland Canada. Bering Strait, between Asia and North America. Bohai Strait, between Bohai Sea and Yellow Sea. Bohol Strait, a.k.a. Cebu Strait. Strait of Bonifacio, between Corsica and Sardinia. Bosphorus, between Europe and Asia. Bougainville Strait, Indonesia, between Wagio and the Kawa Islands. Bougainville Strait. Solomon Islands, between Bougainville Island and Kwasial Island. Boundary Pass, between British Columbia and Washington State. Bransfield Strait, between South Shetland Islands and Antarctic Peninsula. Bungo Channel, between Kyushu and Shikoku in Japan. C. Cabot Strait, between Newfoundland and Cape Breton Island. Caicos Passage, between Turks and Caicos Islands and the Bahamas. Strait of Canso, between Cape Breton Island and mainland Nova Scotia. Carquines Strait, connects San Pablo Bay and Swayun Bay. California. Cebu Strait, a.k.a. Bohol Strait, between Bohol and Cebu in the Philippines. Chatham Strait, between Chichagof Island and Admiralty Island. Alaska. Chios Strait, between Turkey and the Greek island Chios. Clarence Strait, between Prince of Wales Island and mainland Alaska. Coco Channel, between the Burmese Coco Islands and the Indian North Andaman Island. Colvos Passage, Puget Sound. Cook Strait, between the North Island and South Island of New Zealand. Straits of Corfu, between the Greek island Corfu and mainland Greece, Albania. D. Dalkahue Channel, between Quinchao Island and Chiloe Island. Dalco Passage, Puget Sound. Dampier Strait, Indonesia, between Bird's Head Peninsula and Raja Ampat Islands. Dampier Strait, Papua New Guinea, between New Britain and Umboy Island. Danish Straits, between Scandinavia and Jutland. Dardanelles, between Europe and Asia. Davis Strait, between Baffin Island and Greenland. Deception Pass, Puget Sound. Denmark Strait, between Greenland and Iceland. La Desirade Passage, Guadeloupe. Detroit River, between Lake Street, Clare and Lake Erie. Dixon Entrance, between Alaska and British Columbia. Dolphin and Union Strait, between Northwest Territories and Victoria Island. Dominica Passage, between Dominica and Guadeloupe. Strait of Dover, the narrowest part of the English Channel between Great Britain and France. Dragon's Mouths, Bocas del Dragon, between Trinidad and Venezuela. Drake Passage, between South America and Antarctica. East River, between Manhattan, the Bronx and Long Island. English Channel, between Great Britain and France. Euripus Strait, between the island of Euboea and Greece mainland on the Aegean. F. Falkland Sound, between West Falkland and East Falkland. Fehmarn Belt, between the German island Fehmarn and the Danish island Lolland. Fehmarn Sound, between German island Fehmarn and the German mainland. Straits of Florida, between Florida and Cuba. Formosa Strait, between Taiwan and the Chinese mainland. Foveaux Strait, between the South Island and Stewart Island of New Zealand. Fury and Hecla Strait, between Baffin Island and Melville Peninsula. G. Galois Strait, a.k.a. Sele Strait. Strait of Georgia, between Vancouver Island and mainland British Columbia. Canada. Strait of Gibraltar, between Europe and Africa. Golden Gate Strait, between Marin County, CA and San Francisco. CA, entrance to San Francisco Bay. Great Belt, between the islands of Zealand and Funen in Denmark. Guadeloupe Passage, north of Guadeloupe. West Indies. Gulf of Mannar, between India and Sri Lanka. Gulf Trough. A.k.a. Suwannee Strait. Prehistoric. H. Hall Basin, between Ellesmere Island and Greenland. Harlem River, between Manhattan and the Bronx. Haro Straits, series of straits between British Columbia and Washington State. Hecate Strait, between Haida-Gwaii and British Columbia. Honguedo Strait, between Anticosti Island and Gaspé Peninsula in Quebec. Strait of Hormuz, between Oman and Iran. Hoyo Strait, between Kyushu and Shikoku in Japan. Hudson Strait, between Baffin Island and Quebec. Urbis Strait, between Latvia and the island of Saaremaa in Estonia. Jamaica Channel, between Jamaica and Hispaniola in the Caribbean Sea. Gildo Strait, somewhere around Wagio. Same as Jalala Strait. Johor Strait, a Strait of Johor, between Singapore and the state of Johor of Malaysia. Strait of Juan de Fuca, between Vancouver Island, Canada and Olympic Peninsula. United States. Kalma Strait, between Åland and Småland. Kane Basin, between Ellesmere Island and Greenland. Canmorne Strait, between Honshu and Kyushu. Kara Strait, between Novaya Zemlya and Vaigache Island in Russia. Karamata Strait, between Sumatra and Borneo. Kattegat, between Danish Jutland and Swedish Halland and neighboring provinces. Kerch Strait, between Crimea and Russia. Kilvane Kull, between Staten Island and Bayonne, New Jersey. Khatan Strait, between Waji Island and the island Honshu in Japan. Korea Strait, between Korea and Japan. Gulf of Kusadasi, between Turkey and the Greek island Samos. Kvarken, between Sweden and Finland. Kwangtung Strait. Langelands Belt, between Danish islands of Langeland and Lolland. Little Belt, between the island Funen and mainland Denmark. Lombok Strait, between Bali and Lombok in Indonesia. Luzon Strait, between Taiwan and Luzon, Philippines. Straits of Mackinac, between Michigan's upper and lower peninsulas. Strait of Magellan, between South America and Tierra del Fuego. Makassar Strait, between Borneo and Sulawesi. Malacca Strait, a Strait of Malacca, between Peninsula Malaysia and Sumatra. Maluku Kandu, Maldives. Malta Channel, between Malta and Sicily. Mare Island Strait, California. Marie Galante Passage, Guadeloupe. Martinique Channel, between St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Grenada. Martinique Passage, between Dominica and Martinique. McClure Strait, Melville Island and Banks Island. Menai Strait, between Anglesey and mainland Wales. Strait of Messina, between Sicily and mainland Italy. The Minch, between Outer Hebrides and mainland Scotland. Mindoro Strait, between Mindoro and Palawan in the Philippines. Mona Passage, between Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. Myongnyang Strait, between Jindo Island and mainland South Korea. Mytilene Strait, between Turkey and the Greek island Lesbos. Nares Strait, between Ellesmere Island and northern Greenland and connects Baffin Bay with Lincoln Sea, the Arctic Sea. The Narrows, between Staten Island and Brooklyn in New York City. Naruto Strait, between Waji Island and the island Shikoku in Japan. Nemuro Strait, between Kunashir Island and the Shiotoko Peninsula in Hokkaido, Japan. Niagara Strait, a Strait of Niagara, between Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, and the province of Ontario, Canada, and the state of New York, USA. Nicholas Channel, between Cuba and the Bahamas. North Channel, between Northern Ireland and Scotland. Northumberland Strait, between Prince Edward Island and New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. Old Bahama Channel, between Cuba and the Bahamas. Ombai Strait, Alor Archipelago. Indonesia. Oresund, between Danish Zealand and Swedish Scania. Strait of Otranto, between Italy and Albania. Palk Strait, between India and Sri Lanka. Panama, between North America and South America. Panama Canal. Pierce Canal, between Alaska and islands of British Columbia. Pentland Firth, between the Orkney Archipelago and the mainland of Scotland. Le Perouse Strait, also Sawyer Strait, between Sakhalin and Japan. Petite Antioche, on the Atlantic coast of western France. Pickering Passage, Puget Sound. Pitt Strait, Indonesia. Sagewind Strait, between Salawati and Batanta in Indonesia. Pitt Strait, New Zealand, between Chatham Island and Pitt Island in the Chatham Islands. Port Washington Narrows, Puget Sound. Port des Morts, between Green Bay and Lake Michigan. Qiongzhou Strait, Hainan and Guangzhou. Revenges Strait, Sele Strait. Rich Passage, Puget Sound. Robeson Channel, between Ellesmere Island and Greenland. Sagewind Strait, Pitt Strait, Indonesia. St. Barthélemy Channel, between St. Barthélemy and St. Martin. St. George's Channel, between Ireland and Wales. St. George's Channel, between New Britain and New Ireland in the Bismarck Archipelago. St. Lucia Channel, between Martinique and St. Lucia. St. Vincent Passage, between St. Vincent and St. Lucia. Les Saints Passage, Guadeloupe. Saconnet River, between Aquidneck Island and Tiverton and Little Compton, Rhode Island. San Bernardino Strait, between Luzon and Samar in the Philippines. San Juanico Strait, between Samar and Leyte Islands in the Philippines. Scapa Flow, between several of the Orkney Islands. Sele Strait. Galoa Strait. Revenges Strait, between Salawati and New Guinea. Serpent's Mouth. Boca del Serpiente, between Trinidad and Venezuela. Shelikof Strait, between mainland Alaska and Kodiak Island. Sibitu Passage, between Borneo and the Sulu Archipelago. Strait of Sicily, between Sicily and Africa. Singapore Strait, between Singapore and Indonesia. Sumatra. Skagerrak, separating Denmark from Norway and Sweden. Smith Sound, between Ellesmere Island and Greenland. The Solent, between the Isle of Wight in southern Great Britain. The Sound or Oresund, between Denmark and Sweden. South Kvarken, between the Finnish Åland Islands and Sweden. Sawyer Strait, Le Perouse Strait, dividing Sakhalin. Karafuto, from Hokkaido. Sumba Strait, between Flores and Sumba. Indonesia. Sunda Strait, between Sumatra and Java. Surigao Strait, between Leyte and Mindanao Islands in the Philippines. Suwannee Strait. Prehistoric. Gulf Trough. Svinesund, between Norway and Sweden. The Swale, between the Isle of Sheppey and southern Great Britain. T. Tablas Strait, between Mindoro and Panay Islands in the Philippines. Tacoma Narrows, Puget Sound. Taiwan Strait, between Taiwan and mainland China. Tanon Strait, between Negros and Cebu Islands in the Philippines. Strait of Tartary, also Mumia Strait and Strait of Nevelskoy. Sakhalin. Strait of Tebrau, between Peninsular Malaysia and Singapore. Strait of Tiran, between the Sinai Peninsula and Saudi Arabia. Tolo Channel, narrow opening to the Tolo Harbor in Hong Kong. Tongass Passage, between Alaska and British Columbia. Torres Strait, between New Guinea and Australia. Tsugaru Strait, between Hokkaido and Honshu. Tsushima Strait, between Iki Island and the Korean Peninsula. Turkish Straits, collectively refers to the Turkish Straits, the Bosphorus and the Dardanelles. V. Vishiaz Strait, between New Guinea and Long Island. W. Wantsum Channel, former channel between the Isle of Thanet and the mainland of southern England. Now drained, and Thanet now only separated from the mainland by the River Wantsum. A minor drainage channel. Wetar Strait, between Timor and the Indonesian island of Wetar. Windward Passage, between Cuba and Hispaniola. Y. Yucatan Channel, between Mexico and Cuba. See also